Hi, everyone, and welcome to RogersActingTips.com. Roger Kern here. Um, a young person posted last night a question about Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the balcony scene. And I thought this was a very interesting thing to bring up. I'm delighted that she asked. The That particular play and that particular scene brings back a lot of memories for me. When I early on, I had an extensive run with Shakespeare festivals and doing Shakespeare here and there. I even wound up teaching Shakespeare for a short time at the California Institute of the Arts here in Los Angeles. and Well, immediately my mind goes to my favorite production of that play, and I have directed that play also at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. But anyway, the production that comes to mind immediately is Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet balcony scene. That particular scene in that movie was so beautiful to me. The entire film, of course, was absolutely brilliant and beautifully shot. I don't think I've ever seen a production of Romeo and Juliet more stunningly beautiful and more coming just right off the screen into your face with beauty, poetry, gorgeous acting, beautiful speaking of the language. And there's all kinds of things to gain from studying that picture, that particular picture, Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. The balcony scene is just something to remember, and as is the rest of the film. There's so much wonderful work in it. Now, let's talk about Shakespeare just a little bit since we're on that topic. And I can understand, first of all, her question was, can someone explain to me what is going on in that scene? What is Romeo saying? Why is Juliet startled? How come he is willing to be there when she tells him that he could be killed? And I relate to what her questions were, because I remember the first time I looked at Shakespeare, I thought, this is written in a foreign language. I mean, I knew it was English, but it was like a foreign language to me at first. It took some study, and you do have to stick with it. And once you do, it is an unending love affair, and you can study Shakespeare and work on Shakespeare for the rest of your life, as well you should if you want to be an actor, because it is a discipline in itself. The first thing, once you start really realizing what Shakespeare is, what Shakespeare is to the world of literature, you start to realize what an enormous gift this writer is to the world. I mean, it's only lasted over 4 centuries at this point, and still going strong. People right now, somewhere, someone is doing Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. And the reason being is that the poetry is simply everlasting. And you realize that he wrote entire plays in verse. I mean, yes, there are large sections of prose, and usually those are for the rustics or the lower class, the clownish kind of characters in Shakespeare. But the royals and the people of title, they all speak in verse, and that verse is known as iambic pentameter. And it does come with a cadence. It does have a pace that is inherent. In fact, there's an old saying, is when you start to do Shakespeare, you have to learn to ride the horse, because there is a meter that goes on and on. all the way through the speech, and you want to avoid saying those lines like that. But you do want to be aware of the meter because he tells you what words to stress. I mean, he literally wrote in a way that you have to act his lines the way he wants you to in order to make it the very best and the very clearest. So the people who don't really have an ear tuned to the Shakespearean style can still understand what the play is about and what the actors say. And this is a lengthy training process. And I'm happy to work with anybody who wants to do that. Of course, you know I am available for acting lessons online and in person. And so if someone is looking for that kind of training, you should contact me. You know, sign up for, subscribe to my website at rogersactingtips.com. Look into the Acting Formula 101, my new course. That is a good place to start with the fundamentals. And if you have already been working on things and you are now approaching Shakespeare and you want some particular work focused on the bard, as they say, you should contact me. I'd be happy to work with you on it. I have taught it before, I've directed it before, and I've performed a lot of it. So feel free to contact me about that. But more of this. As I was saying, when I first looked at it, it really threw me. But as you start to get into Shakespeare, you realize what a world of brilliant literature is there, and stunning plays and beautiful language to speak. This is so good for your vocal training, your speech, your diction, your clarity of thought, your clarity of intention. It really makes you start to act from a place that is not indicating at all. You can't just pretend that you're going to do something. You have to do it, and you have to have honest intention, and you have to find the way to say these things that people just get from the emotional climate and the coloring of your voice and your behavior, your intentional emotional intent, what it is you're saying. So you can see how Shakespeare can be extremely valuable to an actor working on their craft and learning how to act. And this is something you can do at home. You know, yeah, you need to do a lot of homework for Shakespeare. You need to take a soliloquy and practice it again and again and again and again until you really, really get the gist of how that flows, what the rhythm is, and what are the best words to choose and stress that don't violate the iambic pentameter, and present the whole package, as it were. What is that whole speech about? Believe me, all of Shakespeare is pretty much a noted score of an opera for the actors to sing. It really is like that. So if you want to work with somebody that knows about these things, I am certainly a good candidate. I'm sure there are many out there. But if you'd like to work with me, I'd be happy to work with you. This young lady was saying, well, what is going on in that scene? And let me just wrap up with a brief recap. What Romeo's doing is that he got tired of his pals partying, and he's fallen in love with Juliet at the ball, at the mask that they were not supposed to be at. And they have that wonderful scene at the mask where they, fall in love. And he climbs the wall to try to sneak into her, into the grounds of the Capulets' home, just to see where she is, where she lives. He's so in love with her. And that's where the "what light through yonder window breaks" speech happens, because he sees her through the window, that the light is coming through, and he sees her walking toward the balcony, coming out to the balcony. And he is saying how much he loves her and how she is so beautiful that she makes the moon look pale and sick compared to her beauty, and she is leaning her hand on a gloved, leaning her cheek on a gloved hand, and he says how much he wishes he could be that glove, just to touch her face. It's a very beautiful speech. Um, and then she comes out and she's talking about Romeo being, asking, why does your name have to be Romeo? Because Romeo is from the Montagues, and that's our family enemy, and how just denounce your name, leave your family, come and be with me. I mean, why do you have to be Romeo and a Montague? And he hears her and goes, oh my God, she loves me. He jumps out of the bushes and says, "I'll take you at your word. Hey, I'll get rid of my name if it'll make you happy." And it scares her because she didn't expect anybody to be sneaking around in the gardens. And of course, he climbs up to the balcony, and it's a very romantic scene and all that. And she tells him, it's very dangerous to be here. You're going to die if my family sees you. They're going to drive you run you through with their swords. And he says, believe me, I am empowered with the power of love. That's what made me leap over these walls and be here with you. And besides, there is more danger in your eyes than all of the swords of your family. The rejection from you in your eyes would be more piercing than any sword in my heart. And I would rather die young now without your love rather than go on living knowing that you do not love me. And starts the amazing love affair. Anyway, that's what she was asking about, and I wanted to wrap up with just a quick recap of that beautiful scene. Check out Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet balcony scene, really. Oh my God. It's so beautiful. I think it was Leonard Whiting and Olivia Hussey, the two young actors, the Romeo and Juliet, and boy, were they just lovely. Um, anyway, I'm Roger Kern from rogersactingtips.com. It's my pleasure to speak to you about this. Thank you for listening and being here. I appreciate it very much. I'm very grateful to have you here, and I'll see you soon.